My name is Lillian Charles, and I have a business called Lillian Charles Style Therapy. What I do is I work with women in Atlanta and beyond to figure out and help them decide how they want to move through the world in their clothes. So we start with a process in their closets by going through what they already own, and we decide what they can get rid of, how they can alter things, what they can sell to make money off of, and then we move forward with a shopping process. The shopping process is really fun because it's a way for a woman to engage with themselves and step into their own power in a way that they wouldn't have thought of before. It's a way to rebrand themselves in the way they move through the world. So I noticed, this is my 7th year of business. I started in 2011, and I noticed very quickly that what I was doing was more than just working with people's clothes. I do not have a degree in psychotherapy. I don't have a graduate degree. I went to school and graduated with degrees in women's studies and French. I just happened to have a really great knack for clothes and helping women with their bodies. Style therapy came about or was born in 2017 when I rebranded from Wardrobes by Lillian Charles. The therapy part felt really important to me because people talk about retail therapy as a joke in a way like, oh, I just need some retail therapy and everything will be fine. Buying more stuff doesn't make your life better, but really defining your style. So style therapy, it's kind of a play on retail therapy. So style therapy is a way to figure out more about yourself and what your style is and how you want to adorn yourself. A really easy way to gain women's trust is to have them make the investment of doing this. It's not free. It's not something that you walk into a department store and you're working with a stylist that is there working on commission. A way for women to put a stake in the ground for themselves is to put down their finances. It is a way for them to say, I'm investing in myself, I'm investing in your expertise, and it is different than when you help someone for free. So you might say, oh, thanks for that suggestion to someone at a department store, but you make a claim for like your intention of how you want to spend your time with me by putting your money down. And people don't want to mess around with their money and the time that they spend on the clock. I know that sounds very economic, but it's the truth. Without that exchange of what this is worth, there isn't the same level of trust and commitment from the client's perspective. I've always been a pretty outgoing person. I went through a period in my life after a traumatic incident in college where I was really unsure of myself physically. I was unsure of my surroundings. I didn't trust people. It was never really shyness. It was more just kind of a discomfort of who I was and how I wanted to move through the world. That is part of why I do this work. We often hear that the work that we do in some way heals ourselves. And that is how I started to regain myself and my purpose, was I have only so many options throughout the day. One of them is how I dress myself. One of them is how I put things together and how I express myself. So learning to do that for myself at a period when I wasn't really sure who I was really helped me with my confidence. And I see that obviously daily with the women that I help as well. At any point in anyone's life, we can hit this really crucial period where we can either kind of succumb to whatever negative thing has happened. We can either become victims or we can become conquerors. And so I think that so many people, myself included at one point, we do fall victim to that voice. It is almost easier to play the victim and dull down and not do the work to literally like fight your way back into whatever or whoever it is that you want to be. My job as a style therapist is to help people fight their way back into who they want to be, to make a choice that maybe is a little bit more bold than they feel comfortable doing in that moment. But after they figure out that they can live into a boldness that they choose for themselves, they realize their greatness was there all along. It's a matter of making the choices and living into them step by step. My experience came from a sexual assault that happened in college. and really ripped my self-esteem and ripped what I knew about myself to be true. I ended up dropping out of undergrad and transferring to a women's college. I went to Agnes Scott College after 2 years. So choosing a major, women's studies, tacking that on to a major I was already working on. I was working on a French major, finished that one, tacked on a women's studies major. Really learning that sexual assault is actually a universal thing for women, and realizing I wasn't alone and that there were so many different ways that I could heal myself. What I chose was learning how to adorn myself. And so I love helping other people do that too. Building your relationship with yourself is not something that happens overnight. For me, it came in the form of writing. I spent years writing to myself, first in a negative way, and then realizing that all of the things that I had said were compounding themselves and making me that victim over and over and over again. And it wasn't until I decided myself to change my own narrative to go in an opposite direction that all of that could be compounded in a positive way. I'm really lucky that my parents have made sure that therapy was at the top of the list in terms of self-care. People think of self-care as eating well, going to sleep on time, exercising regularly, but up here is a whole nother relationship, this relationship that we have in our minds with ourselves. And so, I'm really blessed to have had that example shown for me that it's not just about how much you exercise, it's about the kind of fuel that we put into our brains. And that starts with you. That starts with the message that you receive from yourself. Interestingly enough, at the end of undergrad, I started doing prerequisites for nursing school. I really knew, even from a very young age, that I wanted to work with women. I used to say, I think I want to create wigs for women who have gone through cancer treatment and lost their hair, or I want to open a spa for women that are really stressed out. I mean, I was saying that when I was pretty young. Another dream of mine was that I really wanted to be an actress. So there was this kind of sense of always wanting to help people, coach people, women specifically, and also a performance piece. I graduated in 2010, and of course, as we all know, 2008 was not a good time for the economy. So nursing school sounded like a great idea because it was stable, it was steady, it was health insurance benefits, all of that. My original goal was to go into midwifery so that I could help women through the journey of pregnancy. I went to Africa, I had an apprenticeship at Grady, I worked at a clinic downtown, and all the while there was parts of that journey that really resonated with me. I knew that I wanted to coach women, I wanted to support women, but I was missing this creative, how we move through the world piece. I started selling a line of jewelry called Stella & Dot 7 years ago, and I was 23, and I did really well with it. And at that time, I was doing the rest of my nursing prerequisites after college. I had finished my apprenticeship in midwifery at Grady, and I was babysitting nonstop. I ended up taking a job at Lululemon Athletica. So I was working tons of jobs, and all the while it was just this voice from within saying, you have the power to empower other women. And again, I knew that it needed to include some kind of visual element about how we move through the world. So through these trunk shows and selling this jewelry line, I realized, wow, I can actually help people with their self-esteem just by picking out earrings, just about picking out a necklace. The response I'd typically get was, I could never pull that off. I can't wear that. People would laugh at me. My husband would say, why are you wearing that? My sister would make fun of me. And I'm standing around the table at trunk shows going, what? Like that narrative right there about what other people think is so important to women. I already knew how to put together clothes. So I started offering myself, and I was like, I can help you with that. I can help you with your clothes. I can help you with how to put things together. I can help you pick things out for your body. And I can definitely help you kind of break down what's your narrative versus what other people's narrative is for you. And so that's how I started. I speak on a lot of panels to millennials, and I am a millennial. But so many people think that the answer to getting into entrepreneurship is quitting your job and diving into it. I want to encourage people to stay in their jobs because that can be a recipe for disaster, to just jump ship. Probably the best thing that I've learned, or the most important thing that I've learned as an entrepreneur, is you always have to have multiple pots cooking. That's how it works. Your energy goes where your attention flows. So if I am really working on a new brand that I've just started in the beginning of July of this year, then yeah, there are some aspects of the sales of the jewelry line that I still sell are gonna diminish. I also still teach spin, so like I have that going for me. You know, there are certain holidays throughout the year where my business as a consultant is not through the roof. You have to keep all of these different aspects of your life going. And that can really help you from having a total mental breakdown when things are not through the roof successful in that one pinnacle area of success. Entrepreneurship is about doing everything at once.